So you were saying there's 7 skills.
There's
7 skills, and basically, is it the sort of thing where, like, if you're at the top of one, is it sort of just like if you're at the top of like looks, it gives you all these benefits, or is it like you have to have multiple ones at a decent level to get things done?
So that's a really good question. And no, it doesn't have to do with looks per se. Looks can get you in the door if you're looking for a relationship or you're looking to impress somebody in a business meeting. But all it really does is give a first impression. You know, sometimes you ever heard the term first impressions can be wrong. They're important, no doubt about it.
Right.
They always buy you extra time, or they set the stage for you to perform.
Right.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
Okay. But if you move past that and you want any sort of sustainability with your social group or with relationships, what you have to have a certain skill set. And I'll tell you exactly what they are. It's physicality, it's psychology, it's presence, problem solving, it's prosperity, and it's power as an influence, being able to socially influence people. And then it's passion on top of that. And so inside of those skills, they are container words, but they're all categorized on purpose because you can use those skills. Within those, there's techniques to develop them. But imagine this. In order to become a dominantly masculine present man, imagine if I leveled up in physicality.
Right.
My body's good, my muscles are good, I'm all of that. And then on top of that, I had a good psychology about me. I understood relationships and business relationships with men and marketing. And I understood how to use that psychology of emotions coupled with rationality. And then on top of that, I was above average in, how about presence? I could project this out onto the world. What would I have? I would have a Brandon Carter, right? So he is at least well above average in 3 of those. So he is a dominant masculine presence. Now, I'm not referring to how he works in the sexual marketplace.
Right.
And, you know, he may have some lack of skills with women. I don't know. But you can also look at someone like a Jeff Bezos. Now, someone like him, you can look at his skill set, and he is definitely going to be above average in some of these skills. And he definitely is a dominant masculine presence in his life. Say what you will about his situation with his divorce and his girlfriend, but he definitely has problem-solving skill.
Definitely.
Huge. He has power, ability to influence. I would even go so far as say he has passion. And he definitely has psychology in order to operate like that and bring it to that level. And look at the height he's brought himself to. And you think he really cares whether people say, oh, yeah, you got a divorce and got taken for half. And look, you went with this older gal. You know what he cares about that? Nothing. He's living the dream that he wants to. So I would have to admire him as a dominant masculine presence. And that goes way beyond alpha and beta. A lot of guys like to say, Jeff Bezos is a beta. You know, we have friends that do, and that's okay. It's useful in certain conversations to use alpha and beta. But I go a little bit beyond that so that the reader can start to acquire these skills.
Now, do you think they say that about Jeff Bezos because if a normal man were in that same position, he's essentially done some pretty bad stuff for his life? Like, obviously, Bezos has so much money. If he gets divorced, it doesn't really it matters, but not really. And where if, like, as an example, a normal guy got divorced and everything, he loses half his money. It's a much darker, harder road because he's accomplished extremely much less, right? And
he can't buy himself out,
right?
But he can certainly work his way out by having emotional regulation and self-determination by acquiring more of these skills. The more problem-solving skills you acquire, let's use an example. You're offering problem-solving skills when it comes to learning how to buy cryptocurrencies.
Yep.
And that in and of itself doesn't earn you money. In fact, there's risk in doing that.
Right.
But when you couple that with passion, you learn more, you gain experience, and then you learn the psychology of the market. Right. And so when you put those 3 things together and you become above average, you get somebody like yourself that actually starts to tip that in your favor to such a degree that you're making the money to solve the problems now.
Right.
So I try to frame those skills in that arena so it's accessible to every man. You don't have to have, well, look who's there. I have to say hi to my good friend Coco. Hope you're feeling better. That's Mrs. GL right there. So in the studio, we can see behind the scenes. So it's just caught my eye. So I had to say hi. But yeah, I try to frame it so that every man can identify with it, because it's another part of the book that I talk about is identity and archetype. Every man has to really look at his identity, particularly if we're going to go into something like, in this space, we talk about money, muscles, game, and frame.
Yep.
We had a friend that came up with that, and it really fit the time, and it gave a foundation for men to self-improve. But I want to move way beyond that. That's very important, but I wanted men to also be able to work on their identity, because inside of your identity is a lot. There's personality, there's your social acuity, and so I talk to men that may not have thought this through with their identity and archetype. I look a little bit at Jungian archetypes. I look a little bit about heroes, and why you would want to look across that and then couple it with mentors you had in your life,
right?
And actually start to emulate them in your thoughts and your actions. Because really, once you start to actualize it with actions really start to take place. You start to bend reality to your will. Right. At that point, you're taking these actions as if you had these archetypes. They were part of your personality, and then that becomes your identity. It's who you actually are. It's kind of been said in our spaces, you fake it till you make it.
Right.
So I go into detail about that.